Hey everybody, Darren Cross here. Welcome to Module 3 of Business 400, Driving Business Opportunities. We're continuing on. We've been laying the foundation so far. We've talked about blue ocean strategy. We've talked about innovation and how to approach value, how we conceptualize value in a new and innovative way. We talked about value proposition, how to focus in on understanding what we're really delivering to the customer, what benefit we're actually delivering to the customer. We have developed a new product or service. Some of you are still struggling with that. I actually, in module 1, I provided the criteria. We wanted to have a new product, not a revamp on a product, not an improvement, not an offering to a new market or anything. We wanted to come up with a new product that changes the way everyone looks at how value is delivered in an industry for a particular problem. And we also wanted it to be focused towards consumer markets. So some of you still have some adjustments to make. And I wanted to let you know that you can still make those adjustments. You don't have to go back and do anything in Mod 1. You can still make those adjustments just going forward in your paper. We also talked about market and financial analysis to determine if it looks like your product would actually work in a market and if you can actually make money. So we're going to continue to dig in. And this week, the learning objective, there's really only one. Apply the business model canvas for determining product alignment with your organizational capabilities. So what you're really trying to determine is we have this idea that's out there, and now we're trying to say, okay, based upon everything in the macro environment, can I really even deliver this? Are there people out there who want this? Can I deliver it? Is it something that we can make money? So it's about taking this thing that's in our head and organizing it in a way that helps us to figure out how we can actually deliver that product. We're actually delivering or developing a model for delivering value. So when you look at traditionally, like what happened with Amazon, in the beginning, Amazon only sold books, but they sold books online. That was a different model for how books were delivered. You look at things like Uber. We used to call a cab company and that cab would show up. Now, Uber uses the latest technology in order to match people in an area who are looking for a service and people who are available and willing to provide that service. They changed the way everybody looked at that. That's a different model. So that's really what we're after with the business model canvas. Now we are going to dig into the business model canvas. This week you're only going to start to talk about it, but we are going to talk about the 9 building blocks. I'm going to talk about the 9 building blocks here. Next week, you're actually going to start building your own business model canvas. But this week in your discussion board, you're only going to start thinking about the 9 building blocks of the business model canvas. But I thought that it would be prudent before we started really digging into the business model canvas for us to think about business strategy. And this is my jam. This is the stuff that I teach with my eyes closed. This is the stuff that I built my entire academic and business career on. And I think it's just important to understand the foundation. Now, when we're talking about blue ocean strategy, we do approach things a little bit differently, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to think about these things. So this is going to lay the foundation, and you have to think about the reason why we're going over this is because you have to think about what your company is doing from the perspective of established principles in business strategy. And you're going to see how you're really aligning. When we look at this next assignment, we're going to talk about how are you aligning to their overall strategic mission. Okay. And so this is going to help you think about that. Now, we're going to talk about this stuff here, and then I'm going to provide you some resources that help you dig into these even more deeply so that you can really understand what's going on in the world of strategy and how it applies to you. So when we talk about strategy, the first thing that we do is we look at it from this overarching level. And these 3 levels really kind of encompass everything that you would think about in the world of business strategy. And strategy is about winning. Strategy is not about how are we going to do things. That's not necessarily, that's logistics. Like what are our goals? What are our plans? Those are elements of strategy. But when we're talking about strategy, what we're saying is what can we do? What are the set of activities that we have to pursue? What are the things that we have to do in order to give us an edge so that we can get customers in a competitive environment? So competition is necessary when we think about strategy. Now, even when we go to blue ocean strategy, we don't say we're going to eliminate competition. What we're saying is competition is still out there because they are proposing to solve the same problem that you're proposing to solve. But what we're really saying is we are going to render them with this new and innovative idea. We're going to render them irrelevant. But competition, make no mistake, is always a necessary part of strategy. Without competition, there's no need for strategy. Everything else is just logistics. What's the best way to get here? What's my strategy for getting from here? There's no strategy unless you are competing with something. Okay, so let's talk about these levels. The overarching level is the corporate level strategy. So when you have a giant multi-level corporation and they have several business units within them, you look at GE. So GE, they have financial products or financial businesses. They have medical businesses. They have medical equipment businesses. They have just regular equipment and they sell consumer goods. Those are all different businesses, but there is a corporate level strategy that every corporation is pursuing. And in general, there are three corporate level strategies that companies can pursue. A growth strategy whereby they are trying to increase the value of their company each year. And of course, that is the thing that companies are trying to do all the time, but the situation doesn't always permit them the luxury to be able to do that. Sometimes they have to do some different things. So growth strategy is I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to get a bigger piece of the pie, or I'm trying to develop new pies. And we're going to talk about that as we go forward. A stability strategy. So in situations where everything is chaotic and a company maybe grew too fast, or a company has a lot going on, or something happened in the external environment that's influencing this company or the industry, or business in general, then some companies, by virtue of their position and their strength and their resources, might respond to those external things differently. Some might be okay and others may not. They may find themselves in an unstable situation, and so they have to find stability. What stability is really all about is saying, okay, everything's kind of going crazy. Let's get back on track. What are we really going to do? What we're going to do is focus on cost. We're going to double down on the things that we know we're good at. We are going to just make sure that we can hone in and deliver on the value that we already said we were delivering. So when someone's in stability mode, or if a company is pursuing a stability strategy, they're not trying to take on new business ideas. They're not trying to buy new companies and things like that. They're trying to just say, okay, everybody, let's kind of calm down here and let's focus on our budget. Let's focus on delivering on what we say we're going to deliver on, so that we can maximize profit with where we are. And let's just calm down until we get stable again, and then we can start to do some things. Okay. And then a retrenchment strategy is, hey, things are crazy. What we need to do is go in and get rid of the stuff that's not working, and focus on the things that are. So this is where you see a lot of closing business units, divesting businesses or brands or whatever it might be, restructuring finances, that kind of thing. For our purposes, we are only focused on one part, and that is growth. When you have a new product, the only thing that you're concerned about is growth. You want to put that product out, and next year you want it to grow, and the following year you want it to grow. We shouldn't be putting out products if we're unstable. It's a risk. You can take that risk, and some companies have done it, and they've done it successfully. And maybe some people feel like that's what's needed, but in reality, we really shouldn't be pursuing new markets or new products unless we feel stable and unless we have the resources to be able to do so. So we're going to focus on a growth strategy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. The other strategies we're not really concerned about right now, but I do want you to focus on, or at least identify, the strategy that your company is pursuing. So when you are looking at putting this product out, you're going to determine, is this in line with what they're already doing? Well, what are they doing? When you're talking about their overall strategic plan, you need to be talking about what they were trying to do to get ahead. We're not talking about other things. They have the strategic plan to make everybody smile or to deliver quality products. Okay, but what's the strategy? What's the strategic intent of that? And we're going to talk about that. The first thing is growth. The overarching thing is growth. Then we're going to move down into the business unit. So when you have GE and all these different businesses that they have, the business unit strategy, now you're talking about industries, right? So I might be in the financial industry or in the automotive or in the, recreation or entertainment industry. And now what is my strategy? And in the world of strategy, Michael Porter is like the godfather of strategy. And Michael Porter said that there are a couple of strategies. And what we're saying is we're competing on the basis of what? So we can compete on the basis of cost. So what we're saying is our product costs less than everybody else. Now, when you think about what your strategy is there, everything has to align with that. Our product costs less than everybody else. So maybe, and when you think about value proposition, maybe it also is not quite as good a product. And that's okay because some people are willing to sacrifice the quality of a product for the price. So you're saying our product is cheaper than everybody else. In order to be able to do this strategy, you have to have cost leadership. Walmart can do this because they command their supply chain. They have position in their supply chain and they can command prices. They have bargaining power. Okay. In addition to that, you have to understand what the prices are in the market. So the strategy has to kind of make sense. You don't want to offer the highest quality product for a cheap price unless you have some kind of advantage that somebody else doesn't have. And again, that goes into that value proposition that we talked about before. Then there's the strategy of differentiation. Now we're not competing on the basis of cost or price. We're competing on the basis of a characteristic of our product that's different than somebody else. So we are, we have 20% more. We are more durable. We last longer. We have more variety. We have, for some reason, our product, they're sleek, they're more beautiful. It's a luxury car. These things, you're competing on the basis of the characteristics of the product or service itself. So in a way, you're saying we're not focused on price because we're delivering so much more. One of the things that I see business people, they have this poverty complex, and one of the things that I see business people do all the time is they say, "Hey, I'm really I coach a lot of coaches and consultants, usually MBA students getting right out of school, and they're trying to offer their services, and they're like, I'm just a recent MBA grad, and I don't know if my services are really all that. I'm gonna develop your marketing strategy. I'm gonna build your marketing funnel. I'm gonna help you develop all of these things, but I don't want to charge that much because you're probably not going to pay for it." No, if you're offering all of this stuff in differentiation, what you're saying is we are better. Therefore, you want to pay us more. Ferrari, you've never seen Ferrari marketing on the basis of price. You've never seen a commercial for Ferrari saying, "We're going crazy, folks. We're selling Ferraris out the door at 99,000 this week only." They don't do that because their deal is we are Ferrari. We're not competing on the basis of price. We're competing on what's the cool stuff that we do. And then you have, so there's two domains that we're really looking at. Are we competing on the basis of price, or are we competing on the basis of differentiation? And are we focused in a narrow market? So does our business only deal in the automotive industry, or is our business focused on a broad market? So when we have focus, you can be a focused cost leadership or focused differentiation company, or you can be broadly focused, right? So you can have like a narrow focus. Walmart sells everything, right? So they are not in a focused market. They're a broad cost leadership market, right? When you look at like Ferrari, they are differentiated and they're in a focused market. They don't really sell a bunch of things. They're only in the automotive industry. There are some places when you look at a Neiman Marcus or something like that, their deal is we have higher quality products, the experience is different, but we do sell a lot of products, so that's broadly focused as well. So when you're thinking about the strategy that your company is looking at, you're gonna actually say their overall strategic objective is to pursue growth using a. I'm going to show you one more thing that we're going to talk about: a cost leadership strategy or a differentiation strategy. We're going to focus in on that, but there's another piece of this puzzle. And I'll help you develop that as we're actually looking at the assignment video as well. Then you get down to the functional level of strategy. Now, the functional level strategy is talking about the functional areas of business. We're gonna look at this word again later on when we're looking at does your new product actually impact the functional areas of business? And I want you to understand now, yes, it's going to. What are the functional areas of business? It's all of those areas that might be in a business school, right? So if you can have a major in business, that major is a functional area: management, marketing, accounting and finance, production, research and development, IT. These kinds of things are the functional areas. So, in other words, what are the things that we got to do in order to really deliver on this value? So, when you get to Mod 7 and we're talking about how has this impacted the functional areas, yeah, you want it to impact the functional, or you know that it's going to impact the functional areas. Accounting is going to have to take something into consideration if you're growing. Production is going to have to ramp up if you're growing. Sales is going to have to ramp up if you're growing. Marketing has to do some stuff. You need to be focused on that when you get there. So let's talk more about the growth strategy. When we're talking about growth strategy, there are a couple of things that you can do. Now, I want to look at the Ansoff matrix, and what we're really saying here is this is looking at markets that you may or may not be participating in already. And what do we mean by markets? We're saying an area that where there are consumers and buyers, or consumers and sellers, right? So for all intents and purposes, a market is really kind of based on geography. So a new market, you might be in a market here in the United States, and then, or you may be even in a new industry. So it could be an industry. So there's some dynamics there that are a little weird. But if you're, let's just think about it from a geographical standpoint. That'll make it easier. So if we're competing in our existing markets, where, in other words, we're already selling products, we're looking at whether we're staying in our existing market or if we're going into new markets. And at the same time, we're considering, are we selling existing products or services, or are we selling new products or services? Okay. Now, whenever we are in our existing market, so we're competing, we're selling stuff in our market, and we're selling our existing products in our market. That's called market penetration. In other words, we want to sell as much as what we're already selling to the people who we're already selling it to. And really, we any company should be maxing that out before thinking about anything else, because that's where you can cap. The more and more you do things, you create efficiencies and you create those economies of scale. It gets more profitable and more profitable by each unit. So you want to get good at just being able to stay focused on what you're doing. But then when you're good at this, sometimes we say, okay, let's start to take our existing products and services to a new market. Usually that's the easiest to do because we already can produce our products and services, and we know that they are liked and desired. People are after those products. But now we're trying to say, okay, so let's just take them to a new group who has never seen them, and perhaps they would be interested in them as well. And the benefit of that is that the your cost is really going to be, how do I get these products to them? So it's really kind of a shipping thing. You still have to do some marketing and things like that, but with the way things are now, that's relatively inexpensive. All right. So where we might sell things in the United States now, we're saying let's sell our existing products into a new market, India. And because we're going into a new market, we have to develop that market. So that's called market development. Now, the other thing that we might do is say, okay, well, we we are making some products for our existing market. But what happens if we start to make new products for our existing market? Now, this is going to be a more expensive venture. So a lot of times it's not the most preferred way to go, but then a lot of times it is because since you are delivering products to an existing market, you can gather data and you really understand who that market is. And so because you're selling iPhone, maybe you can now sell the Apple Watch because they understand things. And there are strategies that you can use to make it like, hey, I can pair this with them and I can go to the existing market. That is called product development because we're introducing a new product to our existing market. So we have to develop those products. Okay. And then when we say, hey, we're not in this market and we are not making this product, that's called diversification. So we're saying we are getting in an entirely new business. We're going to just diversify and be in an entirely new business. Now, for our purposes, so what happens here when we are doing um, market development, market penetration, product development, what we're really saying is in order to grow, we want to get a bigger piece of the pie. When we're doing diversification, we're saying we're going to just make a new pie. So, for our purposes, if we're thinking about blue ocean, we're trying to really create diversification out of whatever we're trying to do. But for our purposes, product development or diversification is okay. You really don't want to get into, well, we already offer this, so we want to offer it to a new market. Because somebody else who's competing with you, they can offer it to a new market. It's hard to really say we want to offer new products to our existing market, even because the thing is, other people are still trying to get your market. You really want to be thinking innovatively about this, okay? And again, I'm going to actually provide you with all of these things. So as think about that strategy mindset when you start thinking about the business model canvas. And the business model canvas is really a framework to get you to think about, okay, I said that I wanted to do all of these things, so how do I actually do it? The business model canvas is made up of 9 building blocks, right? So you see 9 things here. Okay. Um, you have the desirability building block, which is right here. What you're saying here is, will people want our stuff? And this is focused on the customer really. And I'm going to talk about, oops, sorry, I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. Then you have the feasibility, like, can we even do this? So, do we have can we do the things that we need to do? Do we have the things we need? And do we need to partner with somebody in order to do these things and have these things in order to deliver on this value proposition? Then we think about the viability. Okay, so they want it. We think that we can do it. How much is it going to cost us and why? And then what are the opportunities for us to make money? So you have 3 sections, right? And they call it something weird like back of the house, front of the house, and financial. Um, front of the house, back of the house, financial. But really, this is the desirability part, this is the feasibility, and this is the viability. Do people even want this? Can it even be done? And if so, how much is it going to cost? Can we make money at it? Basically. Now let's talk about these. So when we look at the desirability section, we're talking about the customer section. And so what really happens is people often say, "Hey, there's something that I can do, and I think that I can deliver a value that nobody else can deliver to a customer group." Now, one of the things that I want to just course correct you guys on now is I'm seeing people, and I've even talked on the phone with a couple of you, and I've seen it even since I've been teaching here a little over a year now. This idea that people say, well, nobody else is offering this, so that's why I'm going to offer it. That is not good enough. In fact, that's probably a red flag. If you see that no other companies are offering something that's pretty simple to offer, it's probably because they understand that there's not a market for it. There is something that's easy to offer, and there's a company out there offering something similar, you can bet that they will be pursuing that. So it's not enough just to say, I'm doing this because nobody else is doing it. You have to be thinking, I'm doing this because nobody else is thinking about the problem in this way. So your value proposition is really about what are the things that I do that I can deliver that nobody else can say that they deliver. If you say, well, I'm reliable. Do you think other companies are saying we're not reliable, so you might want to go with them? I'm dependable. No, other companies are saying they're dependable too. Now, can you can you deliver reliability or dependability as a value? Absolutely. If you say, here's the deal, we are more reliable than anybody else because of this, right? So we have this technology that ends up being more reliable. That's what why when we were talking about the value proposition template before, it's like, hey, we address the problem in this way. Other people address it too, but the downfall with them is that they have this weakness that we address. We do this particular thing, and it results in reliability, dependability, access, whatever it might be. But the thing is, when you're talking about a value proposition, and I'm honing in on this because some of you still haven't nailed it, what you're really saying is, yes, we solved the problem, but here's the thing: you want to go with us because we give you this added benefit that other people aren't even thinking about how to do. They can't do it because our product is looking at the problem in a different way. So that's usually what it's starting with, right? So if you had an ice cream, if you said I want to open an ice cream shop, I've talked about this so many times over the past 20 years as my example. Because for some reason, a lot of people who have come to me, they want to open ice cream shops. And usually, restaurants, I say no. That's a 99% attrition rate. Like there's a 1% chance of being successful there. But I usually say, why would people buy your ice cream? Because it's delicious. Okay, so what you're proposing is that other companies are saying, we're cool, but we're not delicious. Don't eat our ice cream because it's not. No, if you have an ice cream that's delicious and also carb free, sugar free, and doesn't it seems like ice cream and it's not weird, then guess what? Now you have a product because other people are like, holy crap, how are they able to do that, right? So that's when you're honing in on what the true benefit actually is. And so when you're thinking about that value proposition, we think about, okay, so who do we offer this value to? Who are the people who benefit from this? Now, we're going to hone in on this again because last module we talked about how to really develop, how to segment, and how to understand who you're going to target. And some of you are still targeting businesses or government entities, and that's going to be frustrating for you because you're not really able to profile them. You need to understand who your customer segments are, and really for your business model canvas that you're really going to develop next month or next module, you want to figure out the segment. So we're really in that customer segment part, which we'll talk about then. You want to talk about which segment you are targeting, right? So you want to actually look at the demographics and psychographics and things like that using the model that we did in the last module. Okay, so customer segment, that's who we're actually offering this benefit to. Then we look at channels. Now, I've noticed that this is a little short-sighted, and even strategizer, the people who develop the business model canvas, they don't really dig into this as much as I think that you should. The business or the channel is about how we reach customers, but they seem to focus on, and students that I've dealt with over the course of the past year at SNU seem to focus on how are we going to reach them from a marketing standpoint. That is part of it. So how are we going to market? Are we, what kind of marketing are we going to do? Are we going to do social media? Are we going to do face to face? Are we going to do commercials? Whatever that might be. But also, how do we reach that customer with the product? How do we get it to them? Channels are a very important part of your strategy and your competitive advantage as well. Because if you have great logistics, then your deal is we are able to do something that it's hard for other people to do, which is what Amazon has done. You can order something and get it that night because of their logistics network, right? So it's about how do I actually get it? How is the product delivered? Is it delivered online? Is it delivered face to face? Is it delivered through a strong distribution channel that has good logistics and distribution? So it's part of that as well. You wanna understand that as well. And don't stress out about the fact that these are just coming at you fast because I'm going to provide you a link to each one of these elements. An overarching thing that goes into each one of these elements And I encourage you to actually go in and dig in. And I will be able to see that when you build your business model canvas because you'll be using the language. It'll make sense and you'll use that language. And I'm looking for that specific language. Um, and then finally, customer relationships. Once we sell that product, it is not over. In fact, it is just the beginning. That's why we have customer relationship management software systems now, because once we sell somebody, we got them, we want to continue to build that relationship. Business is about figuring out how to get as many people as possible to buy as much of your stuff as possible, as often as possible. So it's not like, thank you for buying, goodbye, I hope I never see you again. You have to build that relationship. So, really, when we're talking about the customer relationships, we're talking about what types of relationships are we going to have? Are we going to have a consultative relationship? Are we going to have a transactional relationship? We're going to talk about that as well as how do we actually manage it? What are the things that we're going to do in order to keep that connection and stay in touch with our customer? Because dealing with customers that we already have is less expensive than trying to get new customers. Okay. Now, when we move to the feasibility side of this, what we're really saying is, what are the things that we need to do? So, what are the activities that we need to do? What are the things that we need to have? And if we don't have these things, who do we need to partner with in order to help us deliver these things so that we can deliver on the value proposition that we said we're going to deliver on? And when we're talking about key activities, we're talking about basically three categories. And you can dig in and look at these as well. Now, there are things under these, right? So either we're in the production and manufacturing category. So what about that process do we need? Are the most important things for delivering the value that we say we're going to deliver? Okay, so it'll fall into the production manufacturing category. Problem solving. So how is it that we can conceptualize and look at a problem and figure out how to manage knowledge in such a way that we come to solutions all the time, or platform slash network activities. So connecting things through software and things like that to make sure that transactions happen, automations, things like that. It's going to be one of these, and you need to be honing in on which one. Okay. Again, you're not going to develop your business model canvas this module, but you will next module. But I want you to be thinking about this because I want you to have a good, solid business model canvas as we go forward. So what do we need to do? Also, what do we need to have? So what are the resources? The physical resources, the financial resources. Do we need a lot of cash and capital to invest in order to develop factories or manufacturing or these activities that we say we're going to have to do? Do we need buildings? Do we need equipment? Do we need a lot of employees to do this? Because if you're talking about expanding a business, this is definitely something you have to think about. Do we need more people in order to deliver this? And also, when are we going to start to get paid back on this? Is there specific knowledge or patents or intellectual property that we need in order to be able to do this? Okay. And then finally, when you looked at, okay, what do we need to be able to do well? What do we need to be able to have? Or what resources do we have to have? Um, who do we really need to partner with because we are not necessarily great at that? So this is about, can we actually do this? Do we have the capability? Okay. Then when we move to the viability part of this, we're looking at the money part. That's what they call the financial part. The cost structure. What is the cost of delivering all of this stuff? And in order to do that, you have to consider basically, well, I'm giving you the answers to the test here. You have to consider basically the whole business model canvas. So for those of you who are answering the discussion board and you're like, man, I really think that that cost structure is going to come later. Yes, it should. It should, because you got to be thinking about, what am I even trying to deliver? Uh, do I can I do these things? So what kind of activities do I need to be able to do? And if I can't, then how do I need to structure things? What finance do I need in order to create those activities? What are the things that I need to have? What resources do I need? And what's the cost of that? Who do I need to partner with? And there will be a cost of partnership as well. So really what you're saying is, I'm considering my entire business canvas in order to determine the cost structure. What is it going to cost me to deliver this thing? But then you don't want to be short sighted. You want to go to the other side, which is the revenue streams. And the revenue streams are really about, okay, so how am I going to make money here? Now, as I'm looking at some of your projects, I don't think that some of you have thought about that as well. Because you're just talking about improvements, and you're like, this is going to improve things. Okay, but how are you going to make money? You need to be able to sell that thing. to generate revenue. But that's what we're really saying here. What are the revenue streams? And you got to think creatively. Am I going to sell a product and then there's maintenance contracts that go with it? Are there consulting contracts? Is there repair contracts or something that goes with it afterward? Is it a subscription based thing? These are the things that you have to think about, because now this is about what's it going to cost us, and this is about how much money do we really think we can make, or what are the ways that we can make more money, the different avenues through which we can make money. So this is an all-encompassing way of looking at that new product that you're proposing to deliver. Okay, so think about that as you think about the products that you've already put out, and if you need to make adjustments, do so. And if you need some guidance on that, by all means, reach out to me. I can help you. Let's have a conversation, and I can help you tidy up so that your assignments going forward make sense. So let's talk about your assignments. Oh, I made a mistake here. I think this is 3.1. I'll change this whenever I actually um, attach it to the module. But 3.1, the discussion board assignment, which is the BMC discussion. Here is the way to be successful. We haven't done a discussion board yet. We did the first one, but this is the first time we're going to do one that really involves some detailed prompts. Use the headings in the prompts. I want you to actually put which segments do I think I can complete immediately. Use that as a heading. That way, you are focused on that and you answer the question. It's silly not to get the points. If I'm reading through your deal and I say, "Oh, they said the segments." Yep, they're discussing. I'm not sitting here trying to make you discuss in a very particular way. I just want you to broadly talk about the things that we're talking about. And you got to talk about these because these are the elements that I'm grading you on. So put these headings there. Go in and say these are the segments that I think I can complete immediately, and then a brief discussion as to why it makes sense that you can complete those immediately. Then go in. These are the segments that might need a little more work because blah 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 blah. And these are the things that I hadn't really considered because whatever it might be. But use those headings there. Then you want to go in and you want to actually compare your situation to two of your classmates, and then give them some suggestions for their project, for developing their project as well. Okay. Now the next assignment that you want to do is you want to actually do the milestone assignment, and the milestone assignment can be a recording, a video or audio recording, or a paper. What I've seen people do is they do the paper and then they do the audio or video recording. You don't have to do that. They just read it. If you're reading it, you might as well just turn it in. So you can do either or. My preference, honestly, I'd like to see that you are presenting and you are dynamic, because that's an essential part of business. But if it's going to get you off track, don't do it, because you want to hit each element of the prompts and you don't want to get off in the weeds. And I think that because of the presentation mode, it kind of gets people off in the weeds because they're like, "Hello, I'm Darren Cross and I'm blah, 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 blah." And you start talking and then you forget that you're supposed to be talking about something specific, right? So you want to make sure that you are staying on track with the elements of the prompt. And guess what? I gave you an assignment template for this as well, where I'm talking, I give you the headings, and then I actually tell you what to write about in each of the headings. And on top of that, I have the assignment video where I go over and explain exactly what I'm looking for in each element of the prompt. So when you're looking at this, writer's block should not be a thing. You shouldn't have to worry about how to structure anything. You shouldn't have to do anything except just put what's in your mind on the paper. And here's what I can tell you. My philosophy when I'm grading things is, does this make sense generally? I'm not sitting here saying you have a bad strategic idea. What I'm saying is, does this make sense in a very general way, and are they addressing the thing that we're after? And if you download that template and you follow the instructions under the headings and you watch the assignment video, then you're going to do that. And I'm bewildered because I'm providing these things each week, and some of you just, I mean, it's clear that you got the template, but then you're just talking about all kinds of stuff. Remember, you want to keep the structure of the template. No logos. No, don't change things. Don't add spacing. Don't underline any headings. Don't change the structure of the headings. Don't change the names of the headings. Just put them in there. But what I'm looking for at the end of this is a document that looks like your own, none of my own writing, no red, none of the grayed out stuff that I had there. Just make no brackets. Just use the things that you see for guidance. Then do your paper. You want to download it. Don't try to look at it and retype it. Download it. Um, you want to use proper citations. Remember in that better writing video, I showed you how to do citations. Some of you still are doing things like you end the sentence period and then you put the parentheses at the end. That's not how to do a citation. You want to have the citation at the end of the sentence and then the period at the end. Um, but there are all kinds of resources that can help you with that. Okay, so if you follow all of this stuff, it's really easy just to get a good grade. I'm not sitting here being super scrutinous on stuff. I just want to make sure that you are a, hitting the elements that we are after in the prompt, and then B, that it's not something that doesn't make sense, right? So I just wanted to make sense what you're saying. I'm not going to sit here and be super scrutinous because you are not an entrepreneur. I mean, you are a student and you're trying to learn some things out, and I will help you kind of develop some of those skills. Okay, so that's it for the assignments. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. Again, the easiest thing to do is to text me. I promise you, if you text me, I'll get back to you, and we can have a conversation if it requires a richer conversation. But if you email me, I manage my schedule super tightly. So I'm not always connected to email. I'm connected to email at certain times of the day because I'm structuring my entire life. So if I've already looked at email today and then you email me and you need an answer, chances are I'm not going to get to that email until tomorrow. So the easiest way to get to me is to just send me a text and say, "Hey, I have a question about this." You can ask the question. I'll answer it there if I can. If not, I'll say, "Hey, can you get on a call or a Zoom tomorrow, or what's your schedule look like?" And we can work from there. Okay. So just keep pushing, and if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. Good luck.